peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
My name is Bishop Dr. John Warari. I come to you to give you hope. 80% of those who have the infection are recovering. So we must not lose hope. Follow the instructions of the Ministry of Health. Simple instructions. 1, we have been told to sanitize, to clean our hands as often as possible. As you wash your hands, do it for about 20 seconds. That one will keep away and destroy the virus that could have been in your hands. It is important for us not to use our hands in greeting each other. For more information, kindly dial 719 and you will get help, or you can go to your phone and press *719# and you will get more information. Komesha Corona.
Ni vipi tutaepuka ili janga la korona, maana kote duniani linazidi kusambaa, ni wengi wametuacha.
Yo guys, it's your boy DJ Euphoric here. So sad coronavirus is here with us. Na sisi wase tunaishi na disability, we have to make sure maze to protect ourselves. Clean your assistive devices, especially those parts that zina come in contact with your body, kama armrests, brakes and wheel rims. Disinfect using the approved disinfectants from the Ministry of Health.
Sanitize, osha vizuri mikono yako. Quarantine and it's gonna be alright.
Hi, my name is Christine Enrico. I'm a mother to Elsa Wanjiko. Elsa Wanjiko has a special need. She has cerebral palsy. During this time of COVID-19, everybody is feeling anxious and fearful. As a mother of child with special need, I'd like to encourage all mothers and caregivers that we follow the government directives of wearing a mask every time we leave our houses, wash our hands with clean running water, we sanitize our hands and also sanitize the equipment that our child uses, like the wheelchair, whenever we want to take them out. And whenever we want to take our children out for a walk, we should put them on mask and also put ourselves on mask. Stay safe. Komesha Corona.
Hi guys, my name is Maureen Dinda, and amidst this coronavirus pandemic, I'd like to urge everyone, including people with disabilities, to always wear masks in public and to maintain social distancing and use of sanitizers. To the people with albinism, I'd like to tell you that use of sanitizers has no effect or harm on your skin, so don't get afraid. Stay at home, stay safe. Komesha Corona.
Niaje watu wangu wa nguvu, hapa mimi naitwa Deno. Ningependa kuwashow kwamba corona si mzaha. Corona iko bana. Corona iko kwa neighborhood. Manze jaribu kaa home. Na kama iwezekani lazima utoke nje kama mimi. Make sure uko kwa mask. Make sure unawea hiyo mask kila mahali. Kwanza sana ukiwa in a public place. Make sure uko kwa mask vizuri sana. Na kama unatumia guide kama mimi, make sure umemhold hapa kwa shoulder, kwa sababu huwezi mhold kwa elbow, kwa sababu hapo ndipo tunatumia ku sneeze. Sasa make sure that ume stay safe, make sure that ume sanitize. Corona ni real manze, cheza clean.
Tuepuke makundi, sura sishiki misi na budi, tusisambaze hivi virusi.
Hello friends, my name is Ben. I'd like to urge my friends, especially the deaf community, that we follow the guidelines given by the government in these times of corona. Don't forget, wash your hands with clean running water. Also, use masks when in public. If you don't have water, make sure you sanitize your hands. Also, keep social distance. Together, we can win corona. Stay safe, stay at home.
Hivi virusi, epuka corona. Sanitize, osha vizuri mikono yako. Epuka corona. Quarantine and it's gonna be alright. Epuka corona. Sanitize, osha vizuri mikono yako. Epuka corona. Quarantine and it's gonna be alright. Epuka corona.
Whoever heeds discipline shows the way to life. But whoever ignores correction leads others astray. That is in the Bible, Proverbs 10-17. The reason I am quoting this verse, fellow Kenyans, is because the figures that we are hearing today are a clear demonstration that things are not getting better. And people who are telling others that things are better are lying to them. And somehow, somewhere along the line, we seem to have come to the conclusion as a society that things have gone back to normal. Today's figures show things are far, far from normal. Things are very challenging. And those who are exhibiting the indiscipline that I've referred to, leading others astray, are becoming a common phenomenon.
The government of the Republic of Kenya has made efforts, concerted guidelines, and put it out to the public of the Republic of Kenya and the citizens of Kenya. Looking at the trend of what is happening and the events that are shaping around the modeling and the sample modeling of, and a comparison with other states in the world, globally Kenya has done very well. But there seems to be a culture of sliding back, a culture where people want to go back to their old habits. What destroys such an exercise? What brings it to a situation where people need to understand that it is not gone yet, it is here. The virus is here, is with us, is an invisible enemy. An invisible enemy for the people of Kenya to understand that they must help themselves, not help the government, but help themselves to fight the enemy. If we don't unite to fight the enemy, if we slide back to our habits, our behaviors, our eating pattern, our socializing pattern, our praying pattern, our stigma, fear, complacency, impunity. These are the things that are letting down Kenya and most of the parts of Africa. It is therefore my opinion and our opinion.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members and fellow Kenyans, it's a great honor to present to this August House and to the country the highlights of the budget for the financial year 2020-21. I do this in performing my fiduciary duty and fulfillment of the requirements of Section 40 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 and the Standing Order number 241 of the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, At the outset, allow me to take this early opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, for appointing me to the position of the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Planning to provide leadership in the economic and financial affairs of the country. Mr. Speaker, allow me also to express my deep appreciation to the Chair and members of the Budget and Appropriation Committee, Finance and National Planning Committee, as well as the departmental committees of the National Assembly for their constructive engagement and support in the review of the financial year 2020-21 budget estimates and the financing measures. Mr. Speaker, in February 2020, we submitted to this House the 2020 budget policy statement. During that time, our financial projections assumed a normal operating environment. The economy was projected to grow by 6.1% in 2020, which was an improvement from 5.4% in 2019. Indeed, we had set on a conscious journey of fiscal consolidation, targeting a lower fiscal deficit of 6.3% of GDP in the financial year 2019-2020, 4.9% of GDP in 2020-21, and ultimately 3.0% of GDP over the medium term. This plan was premised on a strong revenue growth, reduction of non-core expenditures, and a gradual slowdown in the growth of the public debt. Mr. Speaker, you may recall that early in the year, this House considered our proposals and approved the economic and financial strategies in the 2020 budget policy statement. Mr. Speaker, the global outbreak and the rapid spread of the COVID-19 pandemic has led to the contraction of the global economy with disastrous consequences. The pandemic and the attendant containment measures aimed at saving lives have disrupted the business environment, including international trade, leading to loss of livelihood for millions of people globally. Mr. Speaker, Kenya has not been spared. Evidently, the pandemic and the swift containment measures, including the closure of the airspaces and borders, curfews and cessation of movements in some counties, among others, have not only disrupted our ways of lives and livelihoods, but to a great extent, business. These measures, including enforcement of basic hygiene and social distancing, were not only necessary but also timely, as they have indeed stemmed a surge of infections and loss of lives. In addition to the adverse effect of COVID-19 pandemic, our economy also experienced two other shocks. First, the massive invasion of swarms of desert locusts that damaged crops. Secondly, the floods that led to loss of lives and livelihoods, displacement of people, and destruction of infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, cognizant of the magnitude of the multiple challenges, particularly the COVID-19 pandemic, the government moved swiftly to intervene and implement a range of measures to mitigate against the adverse effects. Overall, these measures have provided the much-needed relief to the economy through injection of cash and provision of additional disposable incomes to the people and businesses. Mr. Speaker, the government also lowered the value-added tax rate from 16% to 14%, reduced tax rates from both corporate and personal income from 30% to 25%, and provided 100% tax relief for persons earning a gross monthly income of up to 24,000 Kenya shilling. Further, in order to support the micro, small, and medium enterprises, the turnover tax rate was lowered from 3% to 1%. Mr. Speaker, in order to support the economy, the government instituted various monetary policy measures to enhance credit access by the private sector at an affordable cost. This was achieved through introduction of central bank rates from 8.25% to 7%, and lowering of the cash reserve ratio requirement from 5.2% to 4.25%. Consequently, this intervention released Kenya shilling 35 billion to commercial banks, allowing them flexibility with regard to requirements for loan classification and disposition. Indeed, since March 2020, banks have restructured loans in excess of Kenya shilling 360 billion, including Kenya shilling 190 billion of personal loans. Further, Mr. Speaker, listing with the credit reference bureaus of any person, micro, small, and medium enterprises, and corporate entities whose loan account falls overdue or is in arrears was temporarily suspended. In addition, in order to enhance liquidity for business, the government provided Kenya shilling 13.1 billion to settle verified pending bills owed by ministries and departments and a further Kenya shilling 10 billion for payment of verified VAT refund claims. Mr. Speaker, to cushion the vulnerable in our society, particularly the emerging urban vulnerable, the government provided an additional Kenya shilling 10 billion to boost the ongoing traditional current cash transfer program. Similarly, the government allocated Kenya shilling 1 billion to recruit health workers to strengthen the health capital capacity of the Ministry of Health, while allocating Kenya shilling 400 million for food and non-food commodities for affected households. Mr. Speaker, the government also established the COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund to receive voluntary contributions from well-wishers towards defraying expenses associated with this pandemic. Mr. Speaker, in order to gainfully engage
us a few minutes past 11 a.m. here in Nairobi, the Kenya's capital. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching us across the world, and thank you for joining us. Today's show is the People's Court, and this is what we have in line for you. We shall look at the newspaper headlines and review here in Kenya. We look at the three leading newspapers, and then we shall look at the judiciary versus the executive, and then we shall go to the East African post-budget analysis. We know the budgets were read yesterday, and the COVID-19 figures as they stand today, and also we shall touch on some African news and indeed across the world. So thank you so much. And to help me out in this show is Dr. David Matanga. Doctor, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Miriam. Thank you very much at the headquarters of Punchline Africa Television. Thank you very much. Good morning, all of you, wherever the production team, those behind the scenes, those outside working from home on this show. Good morning. This is Dr. Matanga, all the way from the Political Command Center of Punchline Africa Television. Things are hot. That's it. That's all I can say. Things are hot. And it means, Miriam, we might stay longer with this COVID-19 after all. It looks like it is going to become endemic. And now, the people who did not do what we call home care. I want to tell you a story before you come to a song. Home care is biting Uganda. Home care. After you test, Ugandan television today said, we don't want to do things like Kenya, where home care hospitals are full. Mm-hmm. We talk about that. We want to find out what they have done well, which we haven't done well, what they have also done badly, which we have done very well. So far, COVID-19, we have hit the figure 3,000. We have tested about 110,000 out of 38 million people to be tested, eligible, living the week 6 years and so on, and everybody is almost supposed to be tested anyway. So what is happening? Is it while Europe opens up, Africa is becoming a focus where these predictions of World Health Organization correct? Were they right? Are we in trouble? Over to you, Miriam.
All right, thank you so much there, Dr. David Matanga from the Political Command Center. And on the other side, we have Daniel Besonga. Daniel, a very good morning to you.
Yes, good morning, Miriam Ogutu, Dr. Matsanga, and our entire technical team working from Punchline Africa TV, and of course, our esteemed viewers across the nation of Kenya and the rest of the continent. Morning.
All right, and before we get into the news headlines, of course, the first part of that headlines, we look at what are the newspapers saying in terms of the COVID-19 and where Kenya stands as we speak right now. And of course, the country has confirmed about 3,215 cases and 92 deaths so far have been confirmed, and 1,092 recoveries have been recorded here in Kenya. So that is where we stand this morning. So on the Daily Nation there on top, we see COVID-19 patients are keen to be monitored as the recovery at home option is rolled out. The Ministry of Health will monitor family members of discharged patients for 14 days to rule out any new infections. So you will be monitored. I don't know if they are saying you'll be going to the hospital to get checked, or they'll be coming, or I don't know. But they're saying there will be a monitoring, for the people who will be in contact with the people who will be sent home. For the home care care. I don't know. First of all, there are places I know, families who have enough space and the houses are big enough, they can afford to self-isolate. But I think we have a bigger problem because the majority, especially the cases that are being reported right now in Nairobi, they come from places where people cannot self-isolate. So I know we've talked about this before, but still, will this now open another floodgate of more cases going up?
First of all, Miriam, let me kickstart this. Sweden, I told the people to use comparative analysis. I don't know why people don't learn quickly in Africa. Sweden today, which had the lowest figures in Europe, started hammering fish, popcorns, crabs, they are near the sea. That was the food, seafood. The restaurants came back. The Prime Minister of Sweden this morning woke up. The figure had marathoned back to almost 1,000 cases in a day. What did he do? He said, we go back, drawing board. Now, I said yesterday, and I've said, and I will continue to teach, those who can take my teachings, take it. C.S. Mutahe Kagwe, listen to me. You are handling a project, and in project management, you must leave room, very serious room, Miriam, for loopholes to be filled, for information to come. But if you handle this project single-handedly and listen to yourself and the other people around you, you cannot get it right. We are sending people home and do what? Let's first of all recruit people, train them quickly, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Those who can do home care, social care, outreach work, sensitize the people. Jermaine, sensitize the people. At the epicenter of AIDS in the United Kingdom, some of us took part as black marginalized communities, where our people came from Uganda. Every Friday, there were over 20 coffins of Ugandans returning home in coffins. We sat down as community leaders in the United Kingdom and said, what is killing us today? What is the hospital doing? Are they testing our people properly? Britain allows, you can go before the panel and tell the panel, I think black people are being segregated. And indeed, Miriam, I want to tell you frankly, we found 2 hospitals in the United Kingdom that were segregating black people, especially those from Uganda. To the extent that when a Ugandan goes to hospital in Britain, those days when AIDS were high and everybody was saying Uganda had AIDS, as soon as you mention the name Uganda, the nurses in the hospital start spreading the word. Ugandan, 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 Ugandan. So we saw our people dying in huge numbers every Friday. As community leaders in the United Kingdom, we said this is enough. I and some other people, we spearheaded to see the Prime Minister and tell him this disease is not for only Ugandans. This disease is not for Africans. Because they were turning this disease to be ours. I tell you, they discovered later that the disease was not only ours. The disease was theirs. It became theirs. Their hospitals became more. They were full of their own people. Because we went to our public, to the community, publicized it, sensitized it, told them, listen to the advice. If you feel any symptoms, go for testing. Go and do tests. Take the first ambulance for treatment. Don't keep quiet. Miriam, I tell you, and Daniel, the disease disappeared. It started to be endemic, and it went back to the white race in UK. It started hammering them. It was not us this time, because we told our people, now this thing, when you go to hospital, there are two hospitals. One is called Tooting Broadway, St. George's. Once you reach there, it was like that was the end. Start counting how you receive yourself in the fire. Upstairs, where Almighty is staying, Miriam. Once you are admitted in St. George's Hospital, it was normal. You are not coming back. So we have to do something. Now, my advice here is this. Before we send these guys home, are we not producing more? Is there no reproduction? Is there going to be reproduction? The disease is going to be reproduced because there is no guarantee that there is immunity. What the government should do is create receiving centers, reception centers. Use this money to keep these people over observation of a period. Let each county have a receiving center. Before they send the patients back to their houses. Miriam, there is no wife who is going to wake up, tell the village chief that this corona is here. There is no husband going to say that my child is corona, because they have seen what is very difficult. We are still a society that is closed. Nobody can. I don't think if they came back today and said, your son has done this, you just pick your son and say, let's march to CPS, Central Police Station. Now, this one, she came home and told me, he beat up somebody. So we have not reached that stage. We are still very conservative. We are not open society, not the open society of George Soros, but open society. We are not yet. We cannot hand over our own children who have stolen money, which has been kept in your bedroom. Your son comes with money stolen from a bank, and you help him to keep it. But you don't ask, how did you get this money? So we haven't reached that stage.
All right.
He's sending home.
Yes,
is very dangerous.
Perhaps we get into how the government plans to do this, and maybe for the sake of our viewers, let's just read a bit of this, and maybe Daniel, you can give me a reaction after that. So on page 10 of the Daily Nation newspaper this morning, it says, close family members of discharged COVID-19 asymptomatic patients will be monitored for 14 days, the Ministry of Health has said. This is one of the guidelines on home-based isolation and care program launched on Wednesday. Household contacts will fill in the symptom monitoring schedule for the period of a patient will be on home-based isolation care. They will state COVID-19 related symptoms and temperatures for 14 days. Now, the data collection tool is a component of the ministry's Jitenge monitoring system. Jitenge is an at-home COVID-19 short code and text message-based system created for the purpose of monitoring household contacts, the patients and those discharged. So something here, and I'm sure the Ministry of Health must have picked from some of the advices here we give, the healthcare workers, and in this regard, the community healthcare workers in charge of the isolation home. So they will look for people who are healthcare workers or community healthcare workers who are in close contact with those people, and isolation homes, apartments, or institutions will fill weekly. So they will have somebody there to go every weekly or every day or per, the agreed time, so that they'll be monitoring these people. So the Ministry of Health seems to be having a plan in place. Daniel, will this plan be efficient?
Yes, so Miriam, of course, it could be a good plan, but of course, as it is right now, it's just on paper and nothing much happening on ground. And I tend to agree with Dr. Matsanga. Before we take such a step, then capacity the equation has to be the take off in that route. And as it is right now, majority of these people who are asymptomatic and being sent home. As you mentioned earlier, there are people you might find they are not living in well conditions. You find that perhaps they are living in a number of more than 5 in a house, and of course that will pose a very, very serious threat. And you don't know, perhaps these other people that these people are going back to at home, if they have underlying health conditions. Some of them are living with their elderly parents or maybe relatives. So for me, I think it's not the right step to take by the ministry. Perhaps if they are forced to take that route, then they have to make sure that capacity building and sensitization is put in place efficiently, so that we don't get into another ditch in terms of a rise in the numbers of people who are infected with the COVID-19.
So these are just some of the safety measures that are supposed to be taken should a patient go to the self-isolating care at home. The patients need to be placed in a separate, well-ventilated isolation room with open windows, limit movement of patients in other rooms, and limit the time spent in shared rooms, and also limit the number of caregivers attending to the patient. Visitors should not be allowed in the isolation room except for the caregivers. Perform hand hygiene after any contact with the patient. A face mask should be provided to the patient and worn at all times. Materials used to cover the face and nose, including face masks, should be discarded properly. Caregivers should wear a face mask when attending to the patient and avoid direct contact with body fluids, particularly oral or respiratory excretion or stool, and also use gloves and masks when providing oral or respiratory care. I think a lot of these guidelines are not too difficult to observe, except for the...
Let me tell you one thing. Yes. When Kenyans, a majority of Kenyans, if you are to ask them honestly, the reason why they're putting on masks when they're in public places, it is not because they fear contracting COVID-19, but it's because they fear police arrests. So if they cannot put on masks because they care for their own health, how sure can we be that they're gonna take into place these simple measures that have been set out there by the Ministry of Health for those who are going to get home care? So I think it's a no mean feat to try and implement such a program amongst the Kenyan community, and they'll need a lot of sensitization and public education on that before it can really take effect.
Right, doctor, when you listen to the self-isolating guidelines in case a patient will be going home to self-isolate, I think one of the things there that might be a bit of a challenge is the patient needs to be placed in a separate, well-ventilated isolation room, because this will be a challenge for somebody in Kibra who lives in a two-roomed house where he shares with the rest of the family, right? So that could, I think, will be the biggest challenge and impediment when it comes to this. But perhaps when done properly, or if the way they're suggesting here, the patient every time wearing a mask and protecting themselves, because we know how that virus is being translated. Still, if they take the best caution as much as they can, doctor, do we still can this plan win?
No. No. We are assuming that everybody has a house. We are assuming that everybody has extra room. We are assuming that there is enough space in that house. We should categorize who should be under whom category do we take, under which category do we live. For example, if you are discharging a patient going to Muthaiga, Karen, Roresho, Lavington, Runda, Parklands, Ngara, is different from the patient going to Kibra, Madare, Korokocho, Isili. You can see the difference is like a sunshine, the distance between Mars and the Earth. Very big difference, because the one in Irunda, there is a garden. You can even isolate in the garden with a mask and other things. You can build a tent. Yes, you can. Mutua, Governor Mutua has built a hospital, a tent, and they put up everything there. He's testing people there. But if you are, what the government should do is, those that are, if a patient comes from Kibra, let's have a temporary reception center that will monitor those patients until they are fully healed. And then those who can go to Runda, fine. They can follow those. In fact, the one in Runda can even bring in a ventilator. It depends, Miriam. The essence here is, let's see what fits where, how it fits.
Yeah, but I don't think if you need of a ventilator, they'll let you go home, because now that will be a very serious case. But down here they're saying in an informal.
No, I just gave a ventilator as an example.
Yes.
But need the conditions that they are put here.
Yes.
Miriam, they can only meet. Let's summarize it and jump to another topic.
No, before we jump to another topic, this maybe a very important information here, even as we look at that part of what the Ministry of Health is suggesting in regards to the self-isolation at home, and they're saying in informal settlements, like the slums, where households share spaces and the community will need to identify an institution that meets the recommendations suitable for providing the care, like the ones we named above there, then the Nyumba Kumi initiative will support care among rural communities according to the guidelines. So they're saying in the informal sectors like Madare, like Kibra, where they've already recorded these cases, then the community there, through the Nyumba Kumi initiative and the community elders, are supposed to identify an institution there, maybe a hall or a local hospital or a local school, where the patients from that area can go and the monitoring can happen, because they cannot self-isolate at home. So there seems to be having a solution for the not having enough spaces there.
Indeed, you have just said it so. That's what I'm advocating for. Let them separate. Let's go deeper. It goes back to Miriam, what I've told you. Ma'am, it is the project management. You see, it is a whole management up to the end, the tertiary, from the tertiary stage, up to the tertiary stage, sorry. Paka mwisho, you can't leave the river meandering. You were told, all of us studied geography of the river. It starts from what? Which song have you? Your geography is still fresh. I don't know.
Yes, we have what we call the tributary.
Yes, and, the source of River Nile. By the time it reaches Egypt, it is tired.
Yes.
It's tired. So the way you control the water in near River Aswan Dam is not the way you control in Ginger.
Yep.
If something disrupts in Ginger, the water in Aswan Dam or near Ethiopia is weaker. Even some animals could suffer from suffocation. Hippos that are used to this river. So let's plan a project looking at, and above all, the point I was missing here, which I have, just come back. Miriam, we don't have social structures. No social contract. No. We are sending people to hell. Let's not start sending people when we are not sure what we might be seeing in terms of multiplication. Let's train, start. It's good that they have said they are training social workers. Social workers play a very vital role.
Healthcare community workers.
And the community workers, outreach workers, probation workers, all of these health workers, they play a vital role. Let's quickly, in this time, as Corona is not yet peaking the high peak, let's quickly let each county start training. In fact, even if you give them home care lessons of health and safety regulations, and wait for one nurse who can come to administer medicines, fine. But let's not start sending people back to the villages where it will reproduce and the people will come with it and the people will die. Thank you.
All right, thank you there. Daniel, do you have anything to add to that before you go to the other headlines?
I think Dr. Matsanga has wrapped it up well, and that is the way the Minister of Health, Mutahi Kagwe, and his team should look at it, starting from the very basic details up to the cliff of it. So I think he has summed it up, and I have nothing to add on.
All right, thank you so much. So we turn our attention to the headlines today, and of course there's only one thing all the leading newspapers in Kenya or all the news outlets have today, and that is the budget that was read yesterday in Parliament there by the Minister for Treasury there, Mr. Okori-Yatani. And on the Daily Nation, the front pages there, it says budget for bad times, retirees, alcohol manufacturers, online businesses and loss-making firms slapped with taxes in statement that had little good news for millions of Kenyans. What do you make of that headline?
Online, they are meaning us. So it's okay. But there is one thing that I wanted to announce to the viewers. This is a punch call. It's a telephone call. You can call us. Miriam can announce the number. Our number is at the bottom of our screen. +254 795 638 145. We shall take in some calls. We want you to evaluate our work the whole week and also contribute as we discuss. So, Miriam.
Yes. By contributing means you call and you bring your opinion, not contributing in
Yes.
other way. Yeah, some people might misunderstand that. So we need to hear what you have to say.
Your opinion,
yes.
Make it short. If you want to ask a question, ask, please. Yes.
So the number, I think production will put it there on the screen for you so that you're able to see that and communicate with us this morning. So they're saying that alcohol manufacturers, online businesses and loss-making firms slapped with taxes in statements that had little good news for Kenyans, but perhaps we look at the winners of this year's budget, and that is education, which was allocated 497.7 billion Kenya shillings to enhance access to quality basic and higher education, 59.4 billion for secondary education, infrastructure 172.4 billion Kenya shillings to scale up construction of a robust network of high quality roads, railways, seaports and airports. And then 167.9 billion Kenya shillings to strengthen security agencies by equipping them in order to increase their effectiveness, and 111.7 billion Kenya shillings that was given to the health sector to improve health outcomes. Out of this, 50.3 billion Kenya shillings is for activities and programs related to the universal health. So we see there, Dr. The allocations, especially in the Ministry of Health. I think that is, they need that right now because it is at the center of everything else that is happening right now in the country. And also security agencies, they are some of the winners that we have in this year's, budget.
I want to commend the minister for this budget. No Kenyan has said this word, and nobody in the papers has said it. So can I introduce the new term for this budget? It's cussionary. A cushioning. Cushion. It is cushioning our economy, which is at a very precarious times. Is a budget that cushions, that keeps us afloat. But one thing that I said yesterday that it has been, someone called me later, is people-centered budgets. Do we make people-centered budgets or we make budgets of our own? Do these budgets come from down, up, or we go backwards?
All right, we seem to be having a problem there with the signal, but as we wait for Dr. Matanga to come back and finish his point there, Daniel, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I'm getting you quite well, Miriam.
So just speak from what the doctor was saying is.
Yes, so I think from my perspective, the budget was quite good, considering that a good amount of money was allocated to the most critical areas, that is education and universal healthcare. So I think, and especially during this time of the pandemic, when we do need a lot of money to be pumped into the health sector, and as well as also the education system, because we need to recover after the pandemic is over. And those are the two most essential places that we ought to have to concentrate on. And of course, by going by what the budget projected yesterday, then we are on the right track.
All right, and we see the losers from yesterday's budget as per what the Daily Nation is saying on the front pages there. It says a VAT shocker, a reintroduction of 14% VAT on cooking gas, electric accumulators, helicopters, tractors, and clean cooking stoves. And also, yes, other losers is bonuses, overtime, and retirement benefits. Treasury will tax bonuses overtime and retirement benefits, which were initially tax exempt, and then digital service tax. This is the new 1.5% tax on online transactions as government moves to get a piece of the action in the fast growing e-commerce sector. And then the loss-making companies, as if making a loss is not bad enough, companies must pay a minimum of 1% of the revenues to the taxman even when they make losses. And so that might not be very good news to some companies, which I think suffered so much, especially during this time of coronavirus. But this digital service tax, the new 1.5% tax on online transactions as government moves to get. So now the government is planning to introduce a 1.5% tax. I think now there's a lot of businesses going on in the online space, and it's not just Kenya that is grappling. Even in the US, they're just finding ways in which they can start taxing companies, the online companies that have gone out to be very successful, Facebook and all of that. And so Kenya is just catching up with what the rest of the world is doing, because a lot of business is being transacted online.
Yes, I think it is right time, Miriam, and also the governments ought to come up with regulations, laws and regulations in terms of how to conduct business in the digital space, because globalization and the digital era is here with us, and we cannot move away from that. So, and the government on its side has to cast the net wider, because we do have a lot of bigger deficit in terms of our budget, and that the only way the government can meet and cover up for this budget deficit is widening the net through taxation and finding new avenues that we can be able to derive a tax from. And such like the online space is where we do have a lot of transactions happening, as you said, and a lot of businesses. And in fact, right now, when you look at most shops are moving from physical owning physical spaces to going online. So in such scenarios, it's really very difficult to tax them, because these are people who are doing deliveries through online contact. So if they can come up with rules and regulations on how to net in these businesses and be able to get more tax, then it's a good thing. And of course, now it will save the common mwananchi paying higher taxes. But also, you talked about the retirement benefits and other social contributions. Mm-hmm. Being tax exempt was meant to ensure that it gives an incentive of people investing in these retirement benefits. So with the taxation, I think it's going to affect it somehow, because the incentive now is out. But of course, we also have to understand that these are very hard economic times. And not only Kenya, but the entire globe is feeling the heat. So at the end of the day, the government has to meet its budget. And as citizens, we are expected to tighten our belts. But I hope in the coming days, they're going to look at ways and mitigations on how to at least loosen that grip.
All right, and also for the people who have been enjoying, the overtime money, you're not being charged or taxed for it. Okay, you enjoyed it while it lasted. Starting, I think, July 1st, you'll start paying tax even for the overtime income that you make. And so the Standard newspaper perhaps captures a bit of what the Daily Nation might not have. And on the front pages here, a budget to the rescue, which I think is a sort of a headline that you want to hear, because it appears as though it has some reprieve for the common person. A budget to the rescue. Let's see what it contains here. And it says a balancing act. From tax incentives to cash transfers and kazi mtaani to loans to small businesses, the CS hopes a 2.79 trillion Kenya shillings budget will heal an economy hit by coronavirus and escalating health crisis, massive job losses and shrinking revenues. And the winners, as they put it here, roads and youth, and 15 billion Kenya shillings to rehabilitate roads and footbridges, and kazi mtaani program that targets some 200,000 youth. Education, 7.4 billion Kenya shillings to build classrooms, buy desks, and recruit 11,000 intern teachers, and manufacturing 600 million Kenya shillings to buy locally assembled vehicles to support Buy Kenya, Build Kenya, another 712 million Kenya shillings for loans for SMEs in manufacturing sector, and health 1.7 billion Kenya shillings to hire 5,000 health workers, buying to 20,000 beds and 50 walk-through sanitizers at border points and main hospitals. And when it comes to the small businesses, 13 billion Kenya shillings seed capital for cheap loans to small businesses and to settle VAT refunds and pending bills. And the farmers will get 7.9 billion Kenya shillings to subsidize farm inputs for 200,000 small-scale farmers, expand irrigation and support horticultural farmers and access international markets. And then number 7, environment, water and floods, 2.4 billion Kenya shillings for flood control, rehabilitate wells, water pans and underground tanks, and enhance tree planting programs. And then number 8, a tax amnesty under disclosure program. Kenyans who haven't filed returns in the last 5 years can do so without being fined. Oh, that's some very good news there for some people who have been struggling. They know themselves. And number 9 is tourism. Waiver of landing and parking fees and promote tourism. 5 billion Kenya shillings to support industry operations. 160 conservancies to recruit 5,500 community scouts. And number 10, the Konza City. 11.8 billion to develop the Vision 2030 ICT city project. Every time I pass it on my way to Mombasa, then in Machakos, I'm like, these things should start working by now, the Konza City. And number 11 and the last one, a big for agenda, 128.3 billion Kenya shillings to support affordable housing, food security, manufacturing, and access to healthcare. So when you look at this, of course, the Standard newspaper, thank you so much. They've given us a very good breakdown, and we get to understand President Uhuru Kenyatta's, priority right now, and that number 1 is to ensure the youth, even in these hard times, they still get something to do. And we can see that when you walk around, you drive around these highways, you can see they're busy, they're doing stuff, and they're helping in rehabilitating the roads and footbridges. And President Uhuru Kenyatta was very intentional with this, because they understand right now it's very difficult because for those who had car washes, the cars were not being driven as much, so nobody was bringing their cars to be washed. For those who were working everyday jobs from hand to mouth, some of them lost a lot of that. So this was a very deliberate move by the government to ensure that the young people there who have been hard hit by this pandemic still are able to go through their lives and without too much, at least they're able to get their daily food at least, and perhaps their rent for now. So this was a very deliberate thing, and we see President Uhuru Kenyatta allocating some more money for this. So this shows us, the priority of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Has he had his priority right when you judging from what I just read for you?
Yes, of course we are. For at least for now, this time I believe we've got it right in terms of youth empowerment, and this money that has been allocated towards the youth agenda is going to go a long way in creating up employment opportunities for so many youths out there who are still unemployed. And of course, right now, owing to the fact that the COVID-19 has caused a lot of people to lose their jobs, and a majority of them young people. So we see this kind of allocation being directed to the youth population, then it's one step in the right direction. And we hope that this money will be taken into good use, because the relevant authorities have to make sure that there is efficiency in implementing those anticipated projects that will see these money trickling down to the youngest population and creating jobs for them. And it's quite commendable that also in the budget some money was allocated to hire ICT interns, because you understand in Kenya ICT is more popular among the youth. So this is something that is also going to add weight to the already boosted section of the youth empowerment in the budget. So it's a good move, and I think the government has really tried to strike a dynamic balance between other sectors like education, healthcare, manufacturing, as well as putting in check the rising number of unemployed youth in the country.
Oh, yes, indeed. I do see there that is under education sector, where the government plans to hire 11,000 intern teachers. And obviously, as you rightly put it, that will be majority of the young people out there who a lot of them have graduated but have not had an opportunity to get an employment. And also to hire 5,000 more healthcare workers, doctors and nurses there. That is very important, especially during this time where our healthcare system is being tested, not just ours, but across the world. I don't know if, Doctor, your signal is back yet, and if you can hear me, good morning. Okay, so doctor is not, we're not able to get him, but they're working on the signal. Once we're able to get him, then he shall come back. So also, we also see, not doctor, but Daniel, the small businesses, which I think this also under manufacturing and all that, the small businesses really, they are like the backbone of this economy. Yes. We start from there because they are the majority and the basis. When you look at the pyramid, they start there. They are the foundation there. And we see 30 billion Kenya shillings seed capital for cheap loans to small businesses and to settle VAT refunds and pending bills, because a lot of them were hard hit during this time of the pandemic, and majority of them really closed. So the government has allocated 13 billion Kenya shillings as a seed capital to cheap loans, where you don't have to go through a lot of bureaucracies that you would if you're going to a normal financial institution to ask for some money or some capital or whatever it is. So this, I think, will be designed specifically to ensure there are cheap loans that will not add more burden to the people who are already suffering. So what will this do in terms of just ensuring that the small businesses survive? Because from the history, 70% of them don't make it after how long? And we see maybe others were just starting, or others were just, starting to boom, and then COVID-19 happened. So a lot of them have been forced to close their doors. But the 13 billion Kenya shillings, how far do you think will go in terms of breathing new life to these small businesses in the country?
I think that is something that brings a new fire into the SMEs, the small market enterprises, which, as you mentioned, are the backbone of our economy. A lot of our people, over 60%, are involved in these small businesses. In Gikomba, when you go to Mudhurwa, when you go to Eastleigh, these are the hubs that are really focused on these small businesses, people selling clothes, people importing a number of things here and there. So pumping into this sector such an amount of money comes at a very, very important time when the economy is seem to be a bit creaky and shaky. So we hope that when we now start recovering back and measures are put in place to ensure that businesses open up, Kenyans will be able to come out in large numbers, take the advantage of the money that has been put there for the purpose, and be able to rejuvenate the business sector in this country and be able to increase the income. And of course, when the income of the people increases, then undoubtedly the national income is gonna increase also, and the economy is gonna steadily but surely raise back on its feet. So it's a good incentive, and Kenyans should take advantage of it and utilize the money well for the good of the recovery of the economy.
All right, and something else that I think is very close to the heart of the president, as you see it in the Big Four agenda, and that is the food security. Because when you hear about farmers and agriculture, that falls under that. We need our farmers to be empowered. We need to support the productivity of our farmers so that we can be fed. Every time, like the last time, the CS for agriculture came out and say, Kenya, right now we don't have enough in our store. I was like, nah, that is not the kind of news I want to hear, because Kenya can feed itself. And that is what I believe. So that information there offended me, because I know we have the capacity to feed ourselves. We have good land. We have good weather.
Miriam.
We have,
and I think One thing Kenyans need to understand that we are an agricultural economy, and when someone tries to imply that we can no longer feed ourselves, when a while back we had a crisis at the National Cereals Board in Eldoret, farmers had maize, but there was nowhere they could sell. We have been having such cases for quite some time, but also we need to look at diversifying our produce. Like people no longer nowadays farm in plant cassava, millet, and sorghum. Those are the things that Kenyans need to check and really make sure that they bring it into their farms. And of course, sometimes it surprises me that we have to import things like potatoes from Tanzania, carrots from Tanzania, the things that we could farm here. We have to import pineapples from Uganda when we can plant them here in Thika. So I think after COVID-19, it's high time we went back to the drawing board as a country and, of course, supported agriculture intensely to ensure that we can produce enough.
Yes. And we really have to check our priorities, I think, as a country when it comes to food, because a hungry people, that's a very dangerous people there. So Kenyans must be fed, and Kenya can feed itself. And when I see here, of course, in this budget, the farmers there have been 7.9 billion Kenya shillings to subsidize farm inputs for 200,000 small-scale farmers, expand irrigation, and support horticultural farmers access international markets. That is well and good. And also another 128.3 billion Kenya shillings has been put forth in the Big Four agenda. And we know also food security is one of them, so still brings us back to the farmers there. So after putting all this money to support our farmers, and then you will hear after the end of the harvest, their produce is not being received at the national granary, and that is a problem. So I think this is a good start, and I think it's very important for us to support our farmers because, as I said, we can feed ourselves if they receive the proper support and they become a priority, even in terms of their food being bought and their produce being bought by the Ministry of Agriculture. Then we will encourage more people to go into farming. So now, because the money has been put forth to help them out with the inputs and all that, can we also now ensure the Ministry of Agriculture, President Uhuru Kenyatta, that once their produce is ready, can they be given the priority? Can we support our local farmers? Because we, like you said, what do you mean we don't even have enough potatoes? And when I drive through to my countryside, Molo and whatever else you pass there through the Rift Valley and the central part of Kenya, they produce the best potatoes. What do you mean we don't have enough potatoes? So things like that do not make sense at
Miriam,
all.
that brings on the table another contentious point. For Kenyan farmers, I think there is a need to educate farmers. And the Ministry of Health should duly take it up, educating farmers on a variety of crops that are more suitable depending on their weather conditions and soil. So you find that if people in Narok are farming maize, if people in Rift Valley, Eldoret are farming maize, people in Western are farming maize, if people in Mombasa, Kwale are farming maize, where are we going to take this maize? So really, they need the Ministry of Agriculture. I think we have such a department that really tests these crops, and it's able to tell a region like when you come to Busia, where I come from, Teso, we have the soil there is good for growing cassava, millet, and sorghum. Let the people of Teso grow cassava, sorghum, and millet and vegetables. You can go to my area, home constituency of Butula. We are good in maize and all that. Let us grow maize. When you go to Siaya, if they are good in potatoes, let them grow potatoes. There's no need of all of us growing a similar crop. And once the harvest is, you have harvested, you have nowhere to supply or sell your produce, and the market prices are really plunged down. We can diversify whatever we specialize in. We have good sweet Irish potatoes, Baru, coming from central Kenya. The people there, because of the condition, can specialize on that, farming Irish potatoes and cabbages. And once we harvest those produce, we shall have a variety. But also, another issue that needs to be checked, Miriam, is the issue of the cartels in the supply of farm inputs, the fertilizers, the people who hold these farm inputs and therefore are raising their prices. And this is something that has been there, and farmers have been really complaining about it, especially in the Rift Valley region. So this is something that the government should come in and really eradicate it in totality. People are holding fertilizers, farm inputs that have been, the prices have been reduced by the government through a subsidy. So once we sort that issue, and then we educate our farmers to diversify in whatever they farm, to ensure that we produce a variety, then ultimately we do gonna have abundant food on our table, and we also gonna have a market for whatever we produce. So that will be my my route when tackling that, Miriam.
Yes, indeed. And I think you brought up there something very important, because we've seen some areas, the different part of the country, there are areas which are good in producing a certain type of a crop. But you find that, like, when did I go? Sometimes back in my village, you find that some people now want to produce watermelon. Watermelon does not grow in that type of, weather.
Because of the height, that watermelon is very lucrative. But
the most
yeah,
nice
they haven't
juicy
done the
ones,
research.
we all know where they come from. So I think now, for us to achieve this food security that President Uhuru Kenyatta is trying to achieve here, and I hope he does, because we can, and it is possible if properly done, and a proper strategy has been put in place. And one of the strategies that perhaps the government needs to adopt is what you just suggested there. Can we, apart from just diversifying, can we be specific and say, because when you go, like a few times I've gone to the Kenya Seeds Company when I'm looking to buy a certain seed for whatever it is I want, and they'll ask you, so where do you intend to go take this? And you'll say, this part of the country, okay, this is what we'll do. Good. This is the kind of maize crop that will grow better there, and this will grow better at a different. So they know. So we have actually those experts there who could go a long way in advising the government in terms of the climatic conditions of the country in the past that we, depending on where. So I think it will be very.
Yes, no, and also an important factor, Miriam, is the soil acidity. So they have to take the sample there, and that comes with educating the farmers that before you plant.
No, when you go to a place like the Kenya Seed, they already know, because they are all over the country, so they know. So when you say, I want seeds, I want to plant this and this in such a place, they tell you, okay, this is where they will give you the right thing. And the last time I went to buy some seeds there for whatever it is I wanted to go, I'm not a farmer, but I was trying out something, and it did very well, because I got an advice from a person that is an expert in that area. So the Ministry of Agriculture, therefore, and the government of Kenya, because I think food security is very important. This is not something that is just on paper and then that's it, like anything else. I think food security, a country, a person that goes to bed hungry can even think about, can have a proper, vision and all that and other things that pertains to their life. So I think a fed Kenya is Kenyan, I think, is a better Kenyan. And so these images we see every time in January, February, March of some very hungry, malnourished Kenya from Turkana, those are things I don't want to see anymore. As a Kenyan, it guts me out. I don't like seeing that, because we are better as a country and we can do that. So now can the government of Kenya engage with these experts and find out how they can, after that, create awareness? Because as we said there has been a tradition, like this area, we know you just plant maize and then beans in between, and then that's it. So that's all they've been knowing how to do. So now we have to engage in awareness and say, take experts there, engage the elders, engage the chiefs, because we still have them there, and just talk to them. They'll be open, and then tell them, you know what, this area, as much as you guys have been planting the maize, but it's not doing very well. But if you tried cassava, it will be very successful, because the climatic conditions here support the growth of that, and you'll have a more productive, and then in that, you can sell it to whichever part. So if every part of Kenya is specialized in something that the environment there supports, we'll be having better exchange, and we will have enough to go around and even to sell outside of the country. So that is something that has to be deliberate by the Ministry of Agriculture and the government of Kenya. If Kenya has to come to a place where we are food secure, it has to be deliberate.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Miriam. And of course, food is quite an important topic. And I remember in previous discussions we had here on Punchline Africa TV, Major Retired Mbiji, we talked about the biblical story and course, you understand the story of Jacob and Esau, where because of food, one was able to sell his birthright just because for a plate of food. So it's a very important issue. When citizens have food on their table, then the nation is meant to enjoy prosperity and long-lasting peace. So I think through the relevant government parastatals, that is ADC and the AFC, we shall be able to oversee that that is done, and the food production in the country is taken a little bit a notch higher to surpass whatever we are having right now, just to ensure that there is food security for the Kenyans.
All right, thank you so much. There, we still seem to be having a problem with the signal of Dr. Matanga, but once we're able to get him, and then we shall bring him back. Thank you so much. We're looking at the post-analysis. I think we're there right now of, the budget of Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania was read yesterday. I'm not sure about Rwanda. Burundi, of course, they're mourning, so maybe that must have changed, a few of the plans there. And right now, they're even in, they don't know who is supposed to be holding up office right now, but we shall look at that at the top of the hour. So we're just looking at this number 8, according to the Standard newspaper here. I'm sure a lot of young people will be very, very happy. A tax amnesty. Now, under disclosure program, Kenyans who haven't filed returns in the last 5 years can do so without being fined. So I think this is very important. I have a friend who had a job, and then after that they lost their job. So after that they did not know they were supposed to be filing their tax nil if you don't have an income. There is there that allows you to file for nil return if you don't have an income. So for the last about 6-7 years, they have not been filing for their returns. So when now they wanted to go and see, okay, now we have the iTax, it becomes a problem. So I think this will go a long way in ensuring, especially a lot of young people who are not aware, or who might, because if you want to start something, even these small businesses that now will be taxed, you must have a tax compliance certificate. But then you've not been filing your tax, and you did not know that you're supposed to file nil returns because you did not have a job or an income. Now it becomes a problem, yes, and an impediment for you to move forward into into a productive citizen who will now start filing their returns. So I think this will go a long way. I don't know. What do you make of this tax amnesty?
Yes, I think it's a good move, considering that a majority of our citizens have been applying for the KRA PIN certificate quite at an early age. Majority of them have been applying because maybe they want to apply for a HELB loan in the university. And you find that these are people who are not even aware that they're supposed to file tax returns because they are students. So you find that for the next maybe 4 or 6 years, when they will be still maybe between a school and seeking for employment, they've not been they have not been filing their returns. And that accumulates a very big fine on them, on their neck. And considering they don't have a job, then it's a double punishment for them. And I think scrapping it away, it's a good move. And also just a relief on youths, because the majority, this kind of situation affects majority of the youth. And also you mentioned there's people who lost their jobs, but nonetheless never had the opportunity to do tax returns. So whichever way you chop it, it's a good move. And it really encourages people to be tax compliant. Because look, for example, Miriam, if someone wanted to open up a business, but in return, and they go to get the tax certificate, and they get that they have a very, very huge tax penalty. That will be a disincentive of them investing, because they have to clear first this penalty before they can be given a green light to proceed and open up a business. So it just opens up ways and creates an environment where young people as well as the rest of the country can be able to set up businesses and do whatever brings income for the country without too many hurdles.
And be able to pay their tax once they're able to do that. So I think that also will encourage, yes, and I think that will be a winning move there. That is, not will be, that is, I think, a winning move there by KRA, because as we have said there, a lot of people didn't know. Like you said, students will have to, nowadays it's a requirement. You have to get an KRA pin for you even to get help. So they don't know that once you get the once you register, once you're over 18 and you go and you register in any KRA platform, then you are required to file your taxes, either nil or if you have an income, then you have the other option. So they don't know. So you find that now when they want to start, they've gotten into employment and they want to file their taxes now, they're told, hey, 4 years you've not been filing your tax and we're going to fine you. So perhaps now the Kenya Revenue Authority should now also create awareness in this regard. So for people to know, even if you don't have an income, go file your nil return. If you're a student, if perhaps you lost your job, don't just not file your return. You're supposed to file your taxes and file your returns every year. Like now, people are supposed to be filing their taxes because by the end of this month, I think that will end. So Kenyans, go file your taxes if you're working and you have an income. If you don't, then go look for the nil return and file that to be on the safer side, because right now KRA, your KRA pin is attached to everything, whether it's your bank account, whether it's what, and let's not even get into the Huduma number. So it's very important. A lot of people used to get away with not complying. Now you can't, because the system has been digitalized. So for your own good sake, just do the right thing. If you're earning a living, go file your taxes. If not, you can still file it under the nil return. So any Kenyan who is watching out there, please go help yourself, because in the long run, even if you're looking for a visa to go I don't know where, they require that. In a lot of it is mandatory nowadays. You have to produce that in almost anything that is official. You're required to produce that. So for your own sake, hey, you go file your taxes. We still have a couple of days, and the filing ends, I think, the end of this month. All right, so now for the losers, and I think this might, a lot of business owners from Eastleigh might not be very happy with this, because a 25% new duty to be paid by importers of leather products and footwear in a bid to protect local investors in the industry from cheap imports. I'm actually very happy. We have very good shoes produced in this country, butter and others, and good.
Yes, and Miriam, what a majority of Kenyans don't know is that the kind of shoes that we produce here, butter, these are quality shoes. I remember when those days when we were in school, these were shoes that could take you even for 2 years in school. But just try out the cheap imports from China. Those shoes cannot even take you for 6 months or 4 months. They'll be already a mess. So I think it's good for the local manufacturers and for creating local jobs. You understand that at some point there was an uproar from the manufacturers caucus in Kenya, saying that we are an importing economy. We don't even manufacture simple things as like toothpick. And I was even surprised that even some produce that ought to be produced in Kenya, something like the traditional kiondo, are coming from China. So these are the things that we used to produce back in the village. But how come these foreign economies like China have overtaken us and have taken pride of producing our things of our heritage, like kiondos and all that? So I think it's a good move, and probably we're gonna see some good results from it in terms of empowering local industries. And of course, when local industries are empowered and they grow, of course, the problem of unemployment and low income are going to be sorted.
All right, and under that, we also have under the losers on the budget yesterday, steel and iron farms, and now 35% importers of steel and iron products to pay 35% duty. Absolutely, like, why are you importing steel and iron that can be produced here in this country? So that is
Just
warranted. The tax on steel and iron, they've also been slapped. Those who are importing the steel and iron at 35% over the duty percent duty. Why are you importing steel and iron? We have enough here, no?
Yeah, and of course that also is just a measure to ensure that first of all we widen our tax nets, and secondly we do expand the interest of our own industries on the balance on the national balance of payments. So it's a good move also, Miriam, and I think I support it for the sake of our industries and our workforce here back in Kenya.
Because after when this pandemic broke out, and a lot of African countries, we heavily rely on imports from a country like China, even on the things that we can manufacture for ourselves here, the raw materials that we actually have in the continent. And we saw after the pandemic, there were no new imports coming in. There was nothing. So we were forced to look inwards and find solutions for our own, by our own, and even by and large, a lot of countries became very selfish because we saw it was a country for its own. People are just looking out for their own interests because it is a difficult time for everybody. So you can't even blame them. So I think this was a great opportunity for Africa to reflect on. We depend so much on outside world, and yet we've not been getting a lot of these things right now during the pandemic, but we're doing just fine. So perhaps is it time moving forward before we leave the budget and we look at other news that perhaps we reinvent ourselves.
Just to give a parting shot on that, Miriam, they say that necessity is the mother of invention. And let me tell you for a fact, if it was not for COVID-19 pandemic, then we will still be importing masks, surgical masks. We will still be importing the PPEs. We still be importing a lot of things that sanitizers and other basic health equipment that you are seeing right now that are being manufactured by our own industries in Kitui and across the country. So it really gave us a very, very good turning point as a country to realize that we do have a potential here. We do have all the necessary resources that we need, and we can produce and consume Kenyan products and keep the income here in our own pockets.
All right, thank you so much, Daniel, there. And also we see there tourism waiver of landing and parking fees and promote tourism, 5 billion to support industry operations, 160 conservancies, and recruit 5,500 community scouts. So this will go a long way also. 5,500 community scouts. We are seeing a lot of Maasai's young people there will be recruited because a lot of these conservancies are in that side of the world, and a lot of young people across the Republic. And so that also will go into creating more employment opportunities to our younger people there. And this Konza city, the government has given 11.8 billion to develop the Vision 2030 ICT city project. I know you're an ICT person and perhaps you have a better understanding. This Konza city, it's about time, don't you think?
I think we really have been talking about it, so much talk and very little happening. Of course, you are aware that the Ethiopian leadership came and took the plan of the Konza city, and right now I'm being told that back there in Ethiopia they are in advanced stages of setting up what is a similar project to Konza city that we were supposed to have here in Kenya. So I think it is high time the project had taken roots and allocating it some funds. I think now there's a light at the end of the tunnel in regards to that. It's a good move.
All right, thank you so much. I don't know, they're working on having Dr. back and they're waiting to see. But also in other news outside of the budget. Oh, all right. Up there, shame on of policeman who dragged a woman with a motorcycle. I think they were running the news item the other day in one of the local TV stations. I just left the room. I couldn't even imagine watching that. I don't know, she was tied in a motorcycle by a policeman and she was being dragged. I could not. I left. I muted the TV, first of all, and I just left the room. I couldn't because usually I'm not very good in watching anything that is violent in nature. So freaks me out. So I don't even want to go into that story. But this policeman did that, and some people were recording, and so he will be facing some charges there in a court of law as well. He should. You're supposed to protect lives, man. Law and order. What are you doing? Dragging some lady through a motorcycle. What is wrong with some people? That is a mental health something. Maybe this policeman is not okay.
Yes, and I think, Miriam, we do need some very serious reforms in terms of police, the police service in this country. And of course, we can't complain that they've been doing a very commendable job in protecting the citizenry, but we still do have some errant characters, like the one we witnessed the other day. So it's really shameful and very inhumane to do such an act, especially from someone who is expected to be the protector and someone to safeguard our own safety. So, to me, I think it was quite unfortunate. And we can't be calling for justice for George Floyd in the US when we cannot safeguard our own people here back in Kenya. I think it's the height of hypocrisy to do that.
All right, thank you so much. I'm told Dr. Matanga could be back with us. Doctor, can you hear me there? Good afternoon. I don't know if you can hear me. We had a bit of a problem there with the signal from Dr. Matanga's end from the Political Command Center. Doctor, can you hear me? All right, we are working to get him back so that we can look at the rest of the topics that we have today. Because I'd like, yes, Doctor. Good afternoon. Nice to have you back.
Good afternoon. I'm using a different system now.
I can see that.
Apparently, the power in my place is playing about.
All right.
So now, we shall rely on the mechanisms of my direct phone.
All right, thank you so much. So we've just finished the budget, looking at the budget yesterday, and the losers and the winners there, and now
I was making my point.
Yes.
Of the budget, a very strong point I was making of people-centered. Mm-hmm. Do we make this budget when we are looking at the people? Mm-hmm. Do we look at the people? Mm-hmm. Do we center people? Mm-hmm. Do we ask people how it will affect them? Or we do it, then come back from top to back, roll back? That is one of the questions I wanted you people to answer. Mm-hmm. But since I've finished, the budget is a cushion. Let it cushion the people, but let Kenyans tighten their belts, because it's not going to be as rosy as people think. It is going to be as messy, in the sense that all economies in the world are now in chaos. There's no economy that is breathing properly. All of them, from Britain, America, United States of America, China, Russia, the big economies, Germany, France, all those economies are in tatters because of COVID-19. Therefore, Kenyans must know that they will have quite a lot of difficulties, and they will stand. At times, they will be forced to do certain things that they cannot do as usual things. But so far, the budget is a rescue package, is to keep us afloat while we change our ways of behavior. We must fight corruption. We must fight all forms of chaos that bring chaos to our economy. If we don't do that, then we have a very big problem that can actually. And I am one of the most pleased people. You know, Miriam at times give me a nice credit. I like to be given a credit, and on so many things. At times there is nobody who gives me credit in these things. I told the people that let's prepare Africa, prepare all this budget. Look at the budget in Uganda. The Uganda budget is not a budget that you can look at. You see, we are not looking at what could happen. We are saying we shall redo it. We shall upgrade it. You upgrade what? These things are bad. Tell people the truth.
They want to upgrade the budget?
They will, yes. The president said so.
What does he mean by upgrading a budget? I've never heard of such. I know it will be debated in Parliament and maybe adjusted, but upgrading, that's a new word.
Well, Miriam, for us in Uganda, we have, I don't know where I've gone. We have different ways, ma'am, of doing things. So at times we upgrade things in a different way.
We need the headroom, Doctor, the headroom there. Work on your headroom. Yes.
Is that okay, the headroom now?
That is much better. And we don't want, it's shaking too much, so we need it to be on.
Yeah, what can I do? Because I'm using an equipment that I have never used before.
So that is
but
better.
I hope now
that
it
is better.
You are stable now.
Yeah, we need it there. All right, thank you. Yes, continue. So Uganda has...
the Tanzanians were also making an argument. Now, you see where to discover where people lie in Africa. I discovered that the Tanzanians have a problem. Where is the problem? They were saying there was no COVID-19, but they allocated money for COVID.
I thought you keep saying they are very honest people, and I've always held a different opinion.
But they are my friends. But at times, when you discover these smaller things, Miriam, no.
They've allocated money for COVID.
Yes.
And there's no
You haven't seen a Tanzanian budget. Tanzanian budget.
Yes.
I've just been sent a very nice message here, which has made my heart very happy. By someone saying, you were right on ICC. You are still right on ICC. Trump has finally embargoed all ICC officials never to step in America.
but he has been very clear about that. They even refused to
we
give...
need a full topic. We need a full topic, yes. Miriam.
Yeah.
You see, now that is where you weigh a man and the boys. So I am in that category.
But Doctor, the US, they have been very consistent with their dislike for ICC.
No, now.
Yeah.
This was yesterday. They are putting new sanctions. You know, this other woman have been sneaking in there. They said, don't come here. Don't even in the UN. We don't want to know.
Okay.
This is yesterday they did. He announced. He took 30 minutes hammering sections of how they will look for them. And they said they could even charge them and arrest them. So I am looking at sitting near the court to give evidence against Fatu Bensouda. I'm very delighted. Thank you very much, my people. God bless you. God bless everybody. I am here, but I am online. Now we can go to the next topic.
Now let's go to the next topic, and we're looking at the week that was. And in this week, we saw daggers come out between the judiciary and the executive there, and also in Kenyan politics, we saw Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula declared not the party leader of Ford Kenya, and also the fate of impeached Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru now lies in the hands of the Senate after the High Court declined to stop the process. Choose whichever part you want to start with, the week that was.
Of course, the favorite one. My favorite part is Maraga. Is Mr. Maraga versus Matanga and the rest. I think, Miriam, even if it was you, would you accept to be belittled, to be embarrassed? This morning, the whole Nairobi streets, all the posters talking about Maraga, keeping someone, working for someone, protecting thieves, protecting drug dealers who have been indicted by the United States FBI. Miriam, Maraga has only 2 months left because he was set to resign or to take early retirement in September. But Mr. Maraga now does not want to retire. You know why? He hasn't completed his mission. His mission was to kill. Finish, destroy Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and the leadership of Jubilee.
Doctor, when
to
you
politically
to
politically strangulate them.
Or politically, not kill, because when you use the word like kill,
no,
that is very
politically
serious.
Strangulate. Politically kill them. Politically strangulate them. Not to assassinate physically, but politically. Because I have never seen a Chief Justice who is a politician, who does not do legal work, but instead does politics. The Chief Justice is more or less of a politician. I have never seen a Chief Justice in Britain talking to the Queen, embarrassing the Queen, pointing a finger at the Queen. Never. Never.
So that is a poster there. I'm seeing that looks like is in a building somewhere. I don't know where that is, and I was not able
not
to get...
building. You haven't drive the whole all this road superway.
It's a flyover.
Posters everywhere. Parliament. That way Songa tell you.
Okay, I've not seen that. Wesonga shed some light.
Yes, of course. This morning, when you look at the Kenya Roads Alert, these posters have been everywhere. Of course, threatening to expose the rot in the judiciary being overseen by the Chief Justice David Maraga. And I think, Miriam, maybe just to add on what Dr. Matsanga said, I think the way the Chief Justice handled that issue was quite unfortunate. And such respect and difference, of course, between him and the president is seriously undermined whenever the Chief Justice engages in such frequent attack against the head of state. So, I think Maraga should understand that there is a very, very well proper channels where they can be able to communicate between the judiciary executive and the parliament.
Okay, so, I see that on a major road in the CBD there. That's quite interesting. Yes. But is this not taking it a little bit too far? Is this really necessary from where you stand?
No, not really, Miriam, because that could have come from a concerned Kenyan who thinks that the judiciary is out there to undermine the sovereignty and the integrity of the country. Because whatever Maraga was trying to do to the president was some kind of twisting him to admit into the judiciary these judges whose reputation has already been found to be not straight and tainted. So I think this was timely, and Maraga needs to be told that the president does not act on the prerogative of Maraga himself, but whatever the judges they propose to him, he has the mandate either to accept them or to decline the appointment. So it's not a do or die.
All right. Doctor, this move by, I've seen here a tweet by the Road Alert in Nairobi. They're saying this is what a motorist in Nairobi woke up to. And they're mentioning there, in effect, of Maraga is accused of protecting these judges. And of course, that is some of the reasons that have been cited as to why President Uhuru Kenyatta was uncomfortable in, accepting all of the 41 judges that the JSC had proposed for the president there. Was that necessary, the posters there?
don't know. You can, maybe Miriam, we can ask those who are doing them.
Yes. Is
I
it
don't
a
know.
little too far?
I'm not one of those.
I'm just saying.
I'm
just your opinion on that person who did that. Is it really necessary? Is this the route they're choosing to go as a
But
country?
let's ask. We are even going.
Yes.
They are going to do more. Even on. There are many on Harvey, billions on Harvey, Nelson Harvey. They will come.
How do you know?
And they're coming.
How do you know?
Yes.
Don't worry. How do I know?
But Miriam, Kenyans are annoyed.
I mean, I don't want. I do my work as an activist.
Okay.
So I know what is taking place, Miriam.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
there are many people are very upset, not because people are upset. You know, Uhuru has millions and millions of supporters. And when a judge talks at the president,
yes,
instead of talking with the president, why can't the judge resign? Why? Why are you asking me whether this is good or not? Why don't you ask Maraga? Does he need to be dragged out of that court? Is it you? Let me also ask you a question. Yes. You think Maraga is going to go back and talk to the president nicely again?
I think.
How are they going to talk?
That relationship has been severed. It's not secret.
Yeah. So after Miriam, after it has been severed, let him go. Me, if some things are difficult like that, now Ondoka, why should I have posters coming everywhere? Tomorrow, the posters are going to be near your compound. Forward there tonight.
My compound?
Yes.
No, the compound. I'm saying the compound of Maraga.
Of Maraga,
yeah.
Okay.
and
they could
Miriam,
pour there the compound.
Okay.
They could do it. You just leave because the people are fed up.
Yes, and Miriam, of course, Kenyans have also been watching, and if you go out there and ask Kenyans about the tribulation in the corridors of justice, we've been having a lot of justice miscarriage in the corridors of the courts. So this is something that has been timely, and it's only a matter. It was only a matter of time before it happened. So, as Dr. Matsanga says, we're going to see a lot of this until Maraga is out of the judiciary, and until the judiciary itself is cleaned and gotten rid of these unscrupulous judges that are sitting on our benches. So it's something that it's coming from Kenyans, Miriam.
All right.
Miriam, there is also another point that you don't need to miss. Yesterday, the court in Nairobi handed over 2 guns to Mr. Echesa.
Yes.
You know the history of Mr. Echesa, Madam Miriam?
Yeah.
You know the history of Echesa?
He was given the CS.
A gangster. He's a gangster. Don't say he was a minister. He was a gangster.
He was an unqualified minister. That I know.
Then he qualified as a minister. The former CS. Okay, for your sake, let's say the former CS.
Yes.
To police, we are not policing anybody here. There are people, if you want me to tell you, I am going to produce a list of people who have been doing donkey jobs, in court. I've found the name that I've been looking for. I have that list. And you are going to see fire now. The people who are paid by George Soros to demonize Uhuru Kenyatta, to demonize the Jubilee government. I know them now. I know everybody. I will draw, if the list is with me, the chart is with me, I will show you how these people claim to be technocrats advising how to regime change a country. And let them not play about.
Doctor, And on a Chester's matter, because he has a case pending in court, the arms scandal. So I think, can the DCI go and challenge this move by the court to give him back?
They have made an appeal, but you have, Miriam, you have handed over two guns back to a one man who has enemies, who has witnesses, who knows who was. Jermaine, where are we heading?
And of course, Doctor, we are also aware that some of these people have part of their family members working in the judiciary. And it really brings the question of conflict of interest. So I think the judiciary is quite, under Maraga, the judiciary, we could say it's quite rotten to the core. And we need its cleansing as soon as possible. And that can only be done if Maraga vacates office.
All right, so...
And tell me, Miriam, another thing. How do you promote, for example, they bring you a list of a judge who opened the stores at night and removed the exhibit. In the name of God. Remove the cocaine. Removed it to sell. And this is the judge on the list to be promoted to a high court judge. Even if it were you, would you sign?
And also, Dr. Matsanga, in the lower courts, we've been having instances, and quite a number of them, of where files mysteriously get lost in the hands of the judiciary. So Maraga also blamed that on the executive, because these are the things that are theatrics that Kenyans have been always treated to by the judiciary. Someone files a court case, and in the process, at some point of it, the files get lost. And the judiciary has not been working around that gross violation of integrity. So let Maraga also talk about that before he can start pointing fingers.
All right, and we saw after that press conference the Chief Justice had on Monday, where he came out to express his frustrations there through a press conference there. Attorney General Kihara Karaoke also came back on Tuesday to hit back at the Chief Justice, David Maraga, who claimed President Uhuru Kenyatta was frustrating his efforts in the judiciary. While addressing the press, Kihara said some of the sentiments made by the CJ create a perception that he is seeking to influence case outcomes. The AG also said that the CJ would have sought more appropriate avenues of addressing the president and not playing to the public galleries. What other avenues do you think the CJ would have sought? Because according to him, he'd been trying to reach out to the president and the efforts were very fruitless. So what other avenues would he have used to get to the president?
One of the avenues, Miriam, would be to call elders, eminent people. We have a group of eminent people here. You see, when there was commission in Rift Valley, there's a group of eminent people working on several names, very powerful people, to sit them down.
Eminent people for a CJ and the president of a country to speak together. Why is that even necessary?
If you can have those eminent people send a message to the president, those people can go to the president and tell the president, please, this is the point. You don't go and talk. I have no problem other than, again, that one of saying, let me address you, Kenyatta, exactly, directly.
Yes.
The relationship is gone, Miriam. The relationship is gone.
Yeah, but I
yes,
think,
my dear sister.
Yes, but I think from where the CJ is coming from is feeling I'm here to serve Kenyans. So I don't think it's bothered so much about yeah.
Also, when you look in the African perspective, where we are having when we have two people having a disagreement, we have always had a culture where we do have selected elders, village elders from both sides, going to meet and be able to forge some truth between these warring factions.
So we need elders. What you're saying is we need elders so that the CJ and the president...
Not really elders, but what Dr. Matanga is saying there. Dr. Matanga is saying we have prominent people who are friends of both the president and Maraga. And these people are the people that Maraga should have used to reach out to the president and try to find a middle ground to the crisis.
Okay. All right. Maybe, yeah. Do you think Elder Raila Odinga would have done it or no? Or Atoli? Because those are the elders. Those are the elders we've been having.
No.
Which kind of elders?
There's a group of elders, Kulei. You remember them? There's Kulei. Eminent people. There's Kiboro.
Kiboro?
Kiboro of Nation.
Oh, okay,
yes.
Okay.
The chairman of Nation Group.
I thought Kibor.
Then there is, there is another person there. There are about 6 of them. You know, people like Yusuf Haji.
Yes.
People like Wako.
Emeritus
Wako from Busia. These are mature people. They can go and talk to the president to say, please give him a chance to explain all this. We want to hear where things have gone wrong.
Yes.
But now, as far as things are concerned, Miriam, they are spoiled.
Yeah, they're but are they totally beyond repair? Are they totally? Because in March, during when the judiciary was launching something, I can't remember what event that was, when President Uhuru Kenyatta came, there seemed to be a truce, or we assumed a white flag, an olive branch from both sides. But from where we stand right now, from the things that we're seeing, it appears nothing really changed there. Things continue to remain the same, or maybe even worse.
Media, I don't think there is any redemption we can make here.
Okay, I think they'll figure out. The president and
Maraga is left with 2 months to retire.
Okay,
in September. Why can't he do a honorable thing? Get his package, his Range Rovers, his Land Rover, Mercedes, whatever he wants. He will get protection. He will take, even at his home, there will be a guard with a gun waiting for him until the end of the world. So you go under it. Now, there is nobody who can stop you in Kenya once you are 70 years that you cannot stand for politics. I would advise Mr. Maraga to go and contest the elections 2022 as a presidential candidate.
Yes.
Since he's very clean, he's a very clean man, a man who likes cleanliness, a man who is not corrupt.
He's not corrupt.
The Kenyans might give him a vote.
No, corrupt. He's not corrupt from the record of him serving as in. But also, I think politics, maybe in church, Doctor. I don't think he has it in him. Politics. When I look at our CJ, I don't see any. He doesn't come off.
I'm just giving suggestions.
But I think he'll do very well in church, because I see he's a believer and he's quite passionate, and he will join
Bishop Mudavadi,
and he can mentor other upcoming legal minds or something.
People like Mudavadi.
Yes.
But
don't forget, we have a church leader called Mudavadi.
I don't know about Mudavadi, but Maraga is a church elder.
I really doubt even if he can win a parliamentary seat in where he comes from Kisii.
I don't see him. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't come. The Kenyan politics is very hectic, and he's a very reserved person. I don't know if he can be able to.
And perhaps that is the reason why he should remain to be a chief justice and not a politician. Okay. Because politics is for politicians, and as a chief justice, he should behave as such. But listening to his press conference, the drift and the tone of the language of that of an aspiring presidential candidate.
Okay.
So.
All right. Okay. So, Doctor, over the week also we saw Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula declared not the party leader of Ford Kenya. What is the future of Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula?
There is still confusion, so we don't know who is who. But they better, as a Luya elder, they better now also come to me for advice, because I'm also a Luya elder from the clan.
Is Ford Kenya a Luya
I will
party?
also, I want to Wangamati, Elida Wangamati, Elida Mskari Kombo. That's our age.
And the because we are moving towards having like a national cohesion. So this Ford Kenya, is it just a Luya party or is meant for all of us? If I wanted to be part of, why should it be a Luya thing?
It's media. I'm asking when Songa is a party tweet.
No, you just brought that up, and every time it boils down to Luya, then I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I want to hear a party that is of national outfit, like NASA, like Jubilee Party.
And unfortunately, those are the extremes that Wetangula has been able to push the party to.
This
because
Luya
Ford
politics,
Kenya,
I'm tired
under
of
Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, Ford Kenya under Wamalwa Kijana was a national party. It was not a village committee we have today. And perhaps that is the reason why some of its members are really dissatisfied by the current leadership, and they want to bring back its glory. But if the party is left to Wetangula as it is, then it's gonna die a slow, gradual, natural death.
All right, because Ford Kenya used to be a national party, and now it has been reduced to be a communal party. I don't know. Maybe we need it to die so that we can have a party with the national outfit. As a person who's not a Luya, I might want to be a member of Ford Kenya, but all I hear is Luya this, Luya that. Maybe it should die.
Yeah, and of course, if you read the dailies today, the other party leader, of course, right now as it is, there's a lot of confusion. Wafula Mnyinyi is accusing Moses Wetangula of working behind the doors to sign a political truce to support the deputy president in 2022. So perhaps that is the biggest bone of contention between the party members. And
why don't you simply say Wetangula wanted to have money?
Yes, of course, Doctor. And
why don't why do you beat about the bush? Moses with money is like angel Gabriel with the wings that fly. Well, if you take away money
gives. Money makes everything possible.
Yeah, he wants money.
So you want
Moses likes money so much.
Okay.
Medium, I know you also like money. I like money, but not to that extent.
Yes, that's why we are working.
Yeah, he has gone to the DP.
Yes.
And he's back here. He's back to the president. The president is doing favors.
Okay.
So he's caught up. He's a hyena.
So he's trying to get from all sides. He's trying to play.
Yes.
The stomach is a bad political advisor, Doctor.
Hyena.
But is it not being a typical? Is it not being a typical Kenyan politicians? Because we see them hopping everywhere.
Some of them eat quietly, but this one eats loudly.
Okay.
And eats alone.
Eats alone. So eating alone is a problem.
That's what has caused him a problem. Alikula peke yake. Sasa unataka tumfanyie nini? Wapambane na hiyo hali yao wamalize.
All right. Wapambane na hali yao indeed. Thank you so much, Doctor. What else, Doctor, stood out for you the week that was this week?
I think what stood out for me in the week is the death of Nkurunziza.
Let's talk about
the president of Burundi.
Yes.
My comrade, a fellow Pan-African, a fighter, may God rest his soul in peace. That's all I can say now.
All right. And even as we look at as we look at that, Burundi as it is right now, days after the sudden death of Burundi's President Pierre Nkurunziza, uncertainty rules in the country over who should replace him. The man who won May's presidential election was waiting to be inaugurated in August, but is the Speaker of the Parliament who constitutionally should assume interim leadership. No one has taken the oath of office yet. The cabinet, which met on Thursday, which was chaired by the first of two vice presidents, Burundi has two vice presidents, they discussed the management of the situation following the unexpected death of the president. The lack of new head of state has led to speculation that there is power tussle within the ruling party between President-elect Evariste Ndayishimiye and Pascal Nyabenda, the Speaker of the Parliament. So according to the Burundian constitution, the Speaker, Mr. Pascal, is supposed to be the president right now, but Parliament, they are saying they're waiting for a constitutional court interpretation. But the constitution seems to be very clear about that, Doctor. What could be the problem right now there in Burundi?
It can't be the speaker when there are two presidents, vice presidents.
Yes.
They have not died. So let one of the vice president take 1 month and another 1 month. Finish.
Yeah, because they only have like 2 months before Evariste is inaugurated.
That's it. Then the man, they come and hand over power in August. He should not be the speaker to do what now? There's the vice presidents, two of them. They take power rotation and they make decisions uniformly. That's it, until Burundi moves out of transition. Thank you.
Do you think Evariste is perhaps, he's afraid these two might find power very, very nice and say, you know what, we are sticking here. we are not going anywhere. What is the fear? Because it's clear he won the election there in May. So what is the hesitation there? Because the constitution is very straightforward.
He was president-elect, not president.
Yes.
So I avumilie, let him wait. He is not yet in power. No sword has been changed, given to him. And God, that's it.
All right.
That's how they are going to plunge that country into chaos.
Yes.
Yes. I finished on that. Burundi, that's me.
All right. Thank you. Daniel, what stood out for you this week?
Yeah, of course, the death of the former Burundi President Nkurunziza, and of course, Doctor has summed it up, and he has a better understanding of international matters, and Burundi is no exception. As he has said, the transition take place in a very organized manner and with a lot of confidence. So I think I'll reside in the same opinion.
All right, thank you so much. So that story from Burundi is something that we shall be looking forward and see how that will play out. And hopefully the people of Burundi have gone through so much tough times. I hope that the leadership that is there right now will ensure the country does not plunge back to a civil war. When they keep arguing about things like this that have been spelled out very clearly in the Constitution, you can see their problem might be brewing. But I'm hoping it will not be to an extent of of getting the country into chaos, because right now we still have Burundians who are refugees in Tanzania, in Kenya, and other countries after that 2015 skirmishes, and they're waiting for stability for them to go back home. So let's not have more Burundians go to refugee camp when that can be avoided. So I'm just hoping they can find a solution there very, very quickly, so that chaos can be averted. When they suffer, the rest of us get to carry the burden. The price tag of that, not just Burundians, but the rest of us. So we need some stability there in that country. So, Doctor, we seems to be done here, unless you have something else.
No, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you, to thank the rest of us for this week. We have done our best. But before I do so, I want to take this opportunity to thank the United States of America for having listened to me and to us and the millions of us who said ICC was killed, was the wrong place. It had no position of ours at all. It only came to arrest Africans, charge Africans, these member countries. When they went for the real people who were in Afghanistan, the snake came biting and it has bitten them. Today is another day. If there was no COVID-19, I will swim 50 times in the swimming pool. Thank you. That's point number one. Point number two, I want to take this opportunity to thank the emergency team of COVID-19 that you have done very well in Kenya so far. But you need support. You need to change the modus operandi. You need to change how you manage this project. What is worrying most people, including us on this panel, is how you are throwing people in the villages. Home care is going to be a nightmare for us. Maybe this is where God has prepared. We all perish at a core. Third point, I'm being very nice today. The third point is Brutus. When Julius Caesar looked up after being stabbed, he looked up in the eyes and said, Brutus, is it you? Is it you? It is you, surely. So I want to tell President Uhuru Kenyatta, yes, they are Brutus. They are plotting. They have been plotting from having Maraga. Maraga plotted with NGOs to finish his government. It was gone. Kenya would be in bloodshed today. Bunduki ilikuwa hapa kubwa. But thank you, Raila Odinga. Thank you, Uhuru Kenyatta. You came down, you saved us. But again, Maraga, 2 months to departure. The guy, amesukuma, amekalia kiti. Hataki kutoka. Hataki kutoka. Watu wanamwambia, tokeni mzee. Utapata milioni zako kama 200 utoke nyumbani. Ukae ukule pension yako. Tokeni uende. You are shaming the court. You are shaming the entire court. Allow the process of a new judge to be taking shape. Who is using you, Mr. Maraga? Someone is using you to have a go at a president of a country. It's not very good. Finally, thank you very much. I want to thank all of you. I want to be shaken. My intestines shook yesterday when I heard the minister of finance of Tanzania allocating billions to COVID-19. So I don't know whether these stories people are talking are real. But if they are real, I was shaken. If there was no COVID-19, why should such huge billions go? So the final thing is, I want to encourage the countries in the world to vote for Kenya on Tuesday, on Wednesday, sorry, when the United Nations General Assembly will be voting for the member that will be on the rotation of Security Council non-membership. Kenya has put his candidature. Djibouti has its candidature. It seems Djibouti wrote a letter yesterday, but one, and they said it is not quitting. So there you are. We have two countries fighting. But I want to tell you good news. United Nations, South Africa has just said it will support Kenya.
Oh, that's some very good news there, Doctor. Thank you so much. Thank you so much there. And of course, yes, Kenya is...
And we are sorry for the disturbance of power. Miriam, up to now, something that is happening here, I've never seen it.
I'm sure they're fixing it. I'm sure Kenya Power...
TV, no. The power is just coming in 1 second and cutting. I don't know how many people's fridges will be spoiled.
I think because of the rain.
Equipment.
Because of the rain,
no.
Usually, yeah.
They say the transformer, but
yeah, well,
it comes 1 second,
yes.
It switches off. So
yes.
all we are losing our TVs.
All right.
If you don't have a backup system,
okay. Yes.
We are losing it.
All right, Kenya Power, please get on it and and fix that. People don't want to their things spoiled. All right, thank you so much, Doctor. There, Daniel, your last remarks, and then I'll perhaps look at the latest updates, and we shall close the show.
Yes, of course, Miriam, we've discussed a myriad of issues, starting from the budgets, where we have highlighted areas that the ministry could look into, just to ensure that the budget, the economy takes off well, and also the issue of sending the patients at home for home care. Of course, we've discussed and of course unanimously agreed that the ministry should put down measures and also ensure that, and of course, my closing remark will be on Kenyans as we head to the weekends. Let's continue keeping safe. Let's continue sanitizing and adhering to the measures that have been put there by the Ministry of Health in regards to preventing the spread of the virus. So that will be my parting shot, Miriam.
All right, thank you so much there, Daniel. And just before we end, I think our viewers have been waiting for the latest update. And as it stands right now, Kenya, confirmed cases is 3,215. The death toll is 92. Recoveries is 1,082. Uganda, the cases right now is at 6,079. No, 679. Ooh, I almost got a heart attack there. Uganda, 679. Recoveries is 161. Tanzania, the figures there have not stopped, and I don't know if I'm shocked or surprised or not. Doctor, they are saying that the government of Tanzania, in its budget, allocated money to fight COVID-19. The president Magufuli has been telling us is no longer there in Tanzania. How weird is that? And in Zimbabwe, confirmed cases 1,200. The death toll is 10. Recoveries is 912. And South Sudan, the cases right now has gone up to 1,670. 24 people have died. Recovery stands at 48. And in Sudan, confirmed cases is 6,730. 413 people have died. Recoveries is 2,278. And we go to Somalia, 2,513. 85 people have died. 532 people have recovered. And Madagascar, 1,203 cases. 10 people have died. Recoveries is at 312 there. And in DRC, confirmed cases 4,515. The death toll is 98. Recoveries is 567. Rwanda, 494 cases. 2 people have died. Recoveries is 313. South Africa, the leading country in the continent. Right now, the cases there stands at 58,568. And out of that, 1,284 deaths have been reported, and recoveries there stands at 33,252. And we go to Burundi. There we see an increase in one case there at 85 confirmed cases. 1 person has died, and recoveries is at 45. And in Nigeria, confirmed cases is 14,554. 387 people have died. Recoveries is 4,494. And in Ghana, 10,201. The death toll is 48, recoveries is 3,755. And we look at the total cases in Africa, 216,259. The number of deaths in the continent is 5,837. Recoveries is 99,029, and the global statistics right now are over 7.6 million cases, and the death toll is 423,901. And I'm sure those figures have probably gone up since we prepared this, and the global recoveries stands at 3.8 plus million people. Thank you so much for watching, Daniel. It was a pleasure having you today.
Thank you, Miriam. Have a good day.
All right, and Dr. too, thank you so much. My name is Miriam Ogutu. A very good afternoon to you.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.